broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello there, Strain fans! Welcome back to the Strain After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV, talking about Season 2, Episode 4, The Silver Angel. I am Matt Lieberman. Joining me, as always, Jacque Borowski is here.
Holla.
Stephen Lemieux is not here. He is in Colorado, and he will be back next week. But Zach Wilson is here.
I am still here.
Boom.
I didn't run away to Colorado. I'm facing it head on. This problem in New York. For my safety in studio in Los Angeles.
Absolutely. So this episode written by Chuck Hogan, the co-writer of the Strain series of novels, and it's a mixed bag. Here's the frustrating element of this show, and I hate when I open the show like this, but I can't help myself. It's a problem. It's a sickness. It's horrible. But there's so much creativity and swagger right out of the gate and weirdness in this episode. And then there's just like a couple of wandering plot lines that don't quite go anywhere in this episode that kind of drag it down. It should be a great episode. It just winds up being a good one. And that's the frustrating thing as a fan of this series, is it toes this line every week between greatness and mediocrity. And it just winds up just being a good show. I want it to be a great show. And the DNA of this show, there is a great show. This intro, this kick-ass, cool VCR device where he's watching this old video, this old movie, is so great and so unique and so creatively shot. Although I would have loved it if they took it one step further and made it 4x3 just for this section. I think that would have added something to it. But I loved this whole section. I could have watched this for the whole hour, honestly.
No, I mean, it was a great way to kick off the episode, and then we came in on high energy with our team.
With Fortunate Son. And
I think what you're really missing in this episode, and what's really setting this feeling off for you, is that this episode introduces a lot of like interesting plot developments and like character things, but by the end we don't know what's happening with half of them.
Right.
We didn't get any, and I don't need like the final payoff. Like I don't need to know where let's say Angel and Gus, like where they're going, but it's a very, like, and we'll get into it later, but like just as an example, like they have a very bizarre, like we don't know what's going on with the two of them. It was so ambiguous. By the end of the episode, you're just confused instead of intrigued.
Right.
Well, for someone who is a book reader, this character, the Silver Angel, exists in the books, and it's a really cool character in the books. But if you're a person who is not a book reader, which I'm sure is at least half, if not more, of the audience, I would think that you would want to give them some sort of payoff as to what's coming, some sort of payoff as to we're actually going to go somewhere with this, because the only reason you would think, okay, we're going to go somewhere with this is because you've invested this much time and that's it. Right. And that's not enough.
Well, it's like, give us a carrot. Show either that A, he's been killing vampires in his spare time, or B, show him kill a vampire and Gus sees it and recognizes in him a potential ally. Instead, it's just like, we've just met a guy and we've seen a tandoori place, which, frankly, I honestly thought was where Satrakian's pawn shop used to be before it got blown up last season. And I was just like, wow, they quickly turned this around into another business. That's what I thought. But it just winds up being kind of like a do-nothing plot line, except the waitress at the tandoori restaurant's really pretty.
Well, I mean, they're setting up, so we meet this character, and I thought because they set it up that it feels like these two have a history.
Yeah.
I was like, is this his dad?
Which, I was like,
Angel.
oh my god, that's so great. Of course, we've got his mom, his dead mom. We've got that great scene with Gus and his dead mom, and mom as the master. And I'm like, that's great. And he's like, he's seeking out his dad, and it turns out his dad has this secret, vampire killing, at least on film, past, and it's like the torch is getting passed from one to the next generation, and it's just wasted.
It builds that up. Only to just at the end, instead of leaving it on this note, who are these people to each other? It's you were acting like he was like, how dare you come back to this place?
Yeah.
And yet by the end, they appear to not. He's like, I recognize you from those old movies.
And he's like, no, you don't.
Well, the thing that's just even weirder about that is that he seems to recognize him. This guy has passed many, many years since he was on television or in the movies or whatever. So I don't know how you would recognize this guy just from talking to him for 2 nights in a tandoori place from movies where you don't see his face, and this guy isn't even really moving in the tandoori place.
No, it's when he goes to strike him. When he gets up from the table, he goes into a grapple stance. And that's how he knows, because it's the same grapple stance.
But wouldn't it be cool if he had saw him fighting vampires and then said, hey, you're the guy from the movie, because this is the way you're fighting the vampires.
And not just that.
Just like
silver
in the movie.
cross, brass knucks, but they're silver. Just watching him pound the crap out of a vamp in the back alley.
I gotta throw a good catch by Duke Chronic in the chat roll. Angel had a lot of garlic. He said Angel has a lot of garlic hanging near the doorway.
It's not garlic; those were flowers. I had the same thought. It was a string of flowers, a garland of flowers.
Also, why is a Mexican wrestler working in a tandoori restaurant?
I don't know. I thought, it's because he married an Indian woman. And together they had a daughter, which again leads to our confusion.
I didn't get that either, because he had a boss that was saying, hey, you need to get back to work right now. I thought the boss was the person who was married to the Indian woman, and he was just the dishwasher.
Maybe that is what it is. I don't know.
It's really
Whatever it
confusing.
was, it wasn't clear,
It was
that's the issue.
Needlessly confusing and ultimately went nowhere. If you'd given us a payoff, we wouldn't be nitpicking these scenes as heavily. But if there is a payoff to come, it's not coming for at least until next episode, if not later.
Well, when you have a super cool intro, like the intro they had, you expect something super cool to come out of it. Mm-hmm. Because you're like, I was just shown this really cool thing. Now I'm waiting for the really cool thing to happen. I'm waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, the really cool thing was that Gus was able to find a dish at an Indian place that tasted like spaghetti.
Yes.
Yes. But let's get into this scene that he had with his mother in the apartment. I thought was just awesome, and is so great at doing what The Strain does well. It's taking a hard emotional situation and adding a level of freaky weirdness onto it and a level of danger. So the fact that you see the moment when Mom gets taken over by the Master, and then he starts taunting him. And I have to ask the same question as Gus. What does the Master want with him? Why is he taunting him like this? Just because he was working with the Ancients, doesn't mean he's necessarily going back. Also, why hasn't he gone back to meet the Ancients and to find another person in charge?
The biggest question is, we don't even know what happens as a repercussion of Vaughn and the other daywalkers, because we had no follow-up to that scene. So it's all for whatever we know, they were murdered in that room, and then he hasn't even checked in with the Ancients to say, hey, we got into this situation where they were murdered in this room.
By the way, your top mercs are all dead.
All dead.
Might want to prepare for people coming after you or something.
So it seems like a weird pickup to his story where it's wouldn't he be more distraught after having been in that scenario?
Yeah, I would think so.
Wouldn't he be in hiding instead of going back to his old house to look for stuff?
That's a good question. Another good question would be, going back to your point, Zach, all of these knowing looks of distrust that Angel is giving to Gus, they're just all because he looks like a rough customer?
That can't be it. He lives in New York City. Gus is not the most thuggy person he has ever seen.
He looks very normal, in fact.
He is not.
He could go to design school for all we know.
Especially because you can't. It's not racism because they're both Hispanic. Like,
well, it's still profiling.
it is profiling, but but what I'm saying is like Gus does not carry himself very much like a gangster. Like, he walks in the door and it was instantly like, I don't like you.
He's not like his brother, who is very obviously a gangster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gus doesn't have like reaching neck tattoos up to his ears. So
Gus actually, I mean, since all of these events have happened to him, he's actually become more grounded. I mean, I would say maybe last season you could see, okay, this guy's a gangster, but because he's fighting this war, because he has this position in this war, I think he's more grounded, and it just seems weird that he's not even doing anything, and the guy's like, Cholo, why are you here, Cholo? And I'm like, what?
What Cholo hit him when he was a boy?
The thing is, I feel like we're gonna get more to this. Like, there has to be more to their dynamic than we've seen.
Right. But it's poor screenwriting to not have that have a full arc in an episode.
Within an episode. Yeah. You can't leave us hanging like that. Like,
right.
And again, if they had left it off before that scene in the back alley, then it would have been okay because we're just like wondering who he is. But ending it on that weird note made it confusing.
Here's what and I know this is so dumb, but it's like, here's how I would have written that sequence because it makes the most sense to me. Because you open the episode watching him fight vampires with his knuckles made of silver. That's a cross, right? We know crosses don't mean crap to vampires in this universe.
Cross knuckles.
Right. So he goes out and he throws a thing in the trash, and it's not Gus who walks up, it's a vampire, and we see him pick up the vampire, throw him, then reach into his back pocket, silver, and starts wailing on that Strigoi like he was in the damn movie. And once he's finished,
preach, Matt Lieberman.
Once he's finished,
preach.
and that Strigoi is just like melting ooze on the damn snow. He looks up and turns around, and there's Gus, dumbstruck, and it's like, it's you! You're Angel! Like, that to me, it would have been so satisfying. And with all the vampires that we see in this episode, you couldn't have spared one for this scene.
It's interesting that you say this, Matt Lieberman, because book spoiler alert, I don't know, because they're obviously doing something different, but this is how he recognizes him in the book. He recognizes him fighting a vampire and says, oh, you're the wrestler because you made this move.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't just take what you wrote in the book.
Especially if it's Chuck Hogan who wrote the damn book.
Why wouldn't you take what you wrote in the book and put it in the show?
Maybe we're saving it, but you shouldn't save it.
But that's the thing, is like,
because he already had that moment of recognition. So now it's like, I don't know what you're saving it for.
I don't know. It's a bummer. I'm sure that this storyline is going to develop into something special, but it's just sort of like, it's one of those, it's like a teachable screenwriting moment. It's, even though you are doing a serialized storyline, there must be an earned advance in each of your storylines, or your audience will feel cheated. Just like, you have to close that loop. Anyway, before we move on, I want to quickly mention our dear friends at iTunes. Woo! Because, folks, the best way to support AfterBuzz TV is to go to iTunes, rate and review the shows that you listen to or that you watch on YouTube. It is quick, it is easy as pie, and it does not cost you a single solitary dime. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Thank you. So if you go to iTunes, you rate and review the show, or you go to YouTube, subscribe, maybe hit the like button on this video, you will get a great shout out here on the show. What day is today? Today is August 3rd. August 3rd. So I'm going to assume that this was not read last week. From Walker Taylor 90, great show and podcast, 5 stars. Really like listening to all the different ideas, and the panel is really hilarious and has great chemistry. Quick shout out to Matt. Every time I hear him talk about the Master, my first thought is Doctor Who. It's ours too. It's a dear favorite.
Happens a lot.
Yeah. Also, guys, if you want to listen or watch this show live, we tape it every single Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you can chat with us in the chat roll and have your thoughts read on air.
Yeah, I want to get some shout-outs in there. Marisha Smith is in there, the Video Game Arc, Nicholas Viespoli, Grimmaniac. Thank you, Grimmaniac. Big supporter of the Grimm After Show, so I like seeing him around. Hippie Pandas, and a bunch more. Thank you, guys.
I love that name, Hippie Pandas.
Super.
That's awesome.
Such the different take than the strain. It's Hippie Pandas watching blood-curdling vampires.
Hey, I like that. I like a mix of cute and evil.
I would like to see a hippie panda fighting a Strigoi.
I would watch
the internet. Make it happen.
It's like something you would see on the Powerpuff Girls.
It's true. So let's talk about our flashback of the week. Even though we got 2 this week, technically.
I just love this actor who plays young Satrakian.
Mm-hmm.
He is morphing into Satrakian. It's perfect. He's even got the voice down.
Yeah, he's becoming more Satrakian with every passing week.
Yes.
And I really, really enjoyed this. Although I felt like just a little bit cheated because as soon as Eichhorst walks into that room, he lures
in the sunlight.
In the sunlight again. All right, so he.
But we had this problem last season where when he was at the Nazi camps, he was in the sunlight too.
Well, he hadn't been taken yet.
Oh, okay.
It was after the fall of the
Third Reich.
The Third Reich that he got converted.
That's right.
Right.
He got the worm.
So he lures Satrakian out of the room. Satrakian winds up in the catacombs with the young boy and the Strigoi. And we see Eichhorst walk in full sunlight and lures Eldritch Palmer over to the dark side. We just see him for 2 lines, and then they have the conversation that effectively shapes the next 50 years of both of their lives, and we miss it entirely to kill more vampires. And I just want to see that conversation. I'm hoping that we get a Palmer flashback where we get the rest of that scene. But I'm honestly, I'm too heartbroken to assume we'll get it.
Yeah,
in this particular scenario, I would hope that they would give it later to show maybe some sort of hidden plot point. Mm-hmm. If they don't do it, then it's lazy. If they do it, then it's awesome because it'll pay off because they're hiding whatever plot point they want to show.
Yeah, it could be super. I assume it has something to do with the lumen,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we sort of get I think there's some red herrings going on in this episode with what Fitzwilliam says,
right? Where Fitzwilliam, I don't know if we can trust him or not, but he said that the lumen was destroyed.
No, he said that Palmer said it was destroyed.
Yeah, which I'm assuming it was misinformation, in one way or another. I think that he knows where the lumen is. I think maybe he traded it to Eichhorst. I don't know. That was just off the top of my head, and I'm seeing all the holes in that theory.
Yeah.
But it feels like there's more to it, so that would explain why we didn't see that, because if there's a deal going on.
Right. Well, I want to know what happened to Rudyard, the little boy who has
Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah,
no,
who has all the information.
What if that turned out to be
right? But it's this is a crucial, pivotal moment in the lives of Eldritch Palmer and Eichhorst. Eichhorst finding their greatest asset, and Palmer going over to the dark side and revealing his true fascination with the lumen has been about finding vampires and figuring out why they live so long.
Well, I assume he wanted to look for it in the first place, though, because he was looking for eternal life.
Right. And he thought that he would find it in there. But I want to see him get seduced by vampires, by actual monsters. And I want him to say out loud with his own voice, I want to live forever, and I don't care what I have to do it. It's such an important part of this guy's history. It's you're right there. Why not give it to us?
Why do you go from hunting these monsters? And yes, he had other ends, but what is it that draws that line between I can do it this way and I can hurt everyone to save myself.
Right. And I feel like that has more dramatic importance than yet another vampire fight. Because we get a lot of them. And I'm not saying that I don't love vampire fights. I love me some vampire fights. And that's the frustrating thing about this show. It's the good versus great scenario where there are the bones of a fantastic, classic, iconic show in this one. And I just feel like there are so many missed opportunities sometimes, and it's heartbreaking because I am a fan of this show. I'm all in. I'm gonna watch it to the end. I don't even care if the quality falls off. I don't think that it will, but it's just it's frustrating sometimes, and I want to know what the master plan is and why certain decisions get made, because it's confusing to me, and it's confusing to you, Jackie, as a book reader, because there are things sometimes in the books that I feel like that that have more dramatic weight or dramatic interest, like Angel's introduction, that ultimately get changed for reasons that seem dubious.
Yes. Although there have been, I will say this though, there have been some changes to the show that I do think are positive changes that add to the storyline. The Ruta Gedmenta's character, Dutch. She doesn't exist in the books, and she's a really awesome. She rounds out the group. She's a really awesome addition to the group. So I don't think that it's all one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's with any adaptation, it's about finding the right balance. It's taking what you see on the page, because what's on the page does not always translate to the screen perfectly. You want to either draw attention just because of the weekly nature of television, or you want more action to engage, instead of just like where in the book you could keep people engaged with talking for 3 chapters. That doesn't work on television.
Sure.
But the fights clearly work better on television. When you're reading one fight, you feel like you've read them all at that point. I'm not saying that the fight writing was bad. I'm just saying that after a while you're like,
no, in fact, I would say that the dialogue this week was very strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of a bummer. So let's talk about Dutch and Elder Satrakian the Elder. Dutch has this idea. How did she figure out that there was another Fitzwilliam on Staten Island, because the internet's out?
She used the phone.
Did she look through the phone book well, I guess you look through and there's only one Fitzwilliam, you assume, but maybe that just makes an ass out of you and me. How does she know that it's that Fitzwilliam?
She doesn't just know that it's a Fitzwilliam. She knows that he has a brother, Cedric Fitzwilliam, who is a firefighter on Staten Island.
Maybe she went to the archives in the library.
Why is his brother in the archives in the library?
I don't know.
The internet is still down, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm like thinking about, the TV's back up, so...
Local TV.
Yeah. All right. So that's fair.
And the TV's has to be back up so they can,
keep
stave
tabs
off
on.
the chaos.
Right. So, regardless of how they figure it out, Satrakian and Dutch make their way to Staten Island, which is straight up medieval. It's going to be a 3-hour wait through Staten Island customs.
P.S. I love how Dutch has a machete and then everyone has a machete, and I felt like you get a machete and you get a machete and you get a machete.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, they're on the Staten Island ferry with a machete and a cane sword. Mm-hmm. How do they get through this special customs?
Well, they're vampire hunting implements, and they're made of silver. I don't know. I honestly
here's
don't
a question that I had, because I was trying to remember. At this point, does the government know about silver?
I don't know. I feel like
what's her face?
Councilwoman
Feraldo. I feel like she would know about that, since she displayed some dead bodies in the last episode.
Yeah, but they were decapitated, not necessarily
silver.
Any evidence that they were killed with silver. And I just haven't heard anyone on that side talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if
maybe they don't know. Interesting.
Also, want to pose a question. We see all these dead bodies out in sunlight.
And they're not burning up.
I know they're dead, but shouldn't they have burned in the sun?
That's a very interesting question,
That is a very valid question, because when we had that scene last year with Fett in the office room with all the vampires, they were almost dust by the time they were done, right?
Yeah, because the sun was slowly destroying them.
Yeah. I honestly do not know. That is a very perplexing question. Writers?
Writers, get back to me.
Fans?
Yeah, fans. Maybe they get...
if you guys in the chat roll have any theories.
Maybe they got treated with some kind of anti-UV spray.
SPF 10,000.
SPF
Right.
vampire.
Right. I don't know. Like, what do you use to make glass UV proof? Maybe it's that. And if that's the case, why hasn't the master picked up like a whole tub full and started dipping vampires in it? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Because he's too busy having people walk off roofs.
Right.
He's too and like hanging out in old ladies' bodies.
Yeah. Oh man, we're gonna get to the walking off roofs bit in a sec. That's easily the best part of this episode. So Dutch and Satrakian track down the Fitzwilliam brothers, and I guess Eyeworms makes Satrakian super confident because he's like, "You already did decide. You already decided not to come with us. Ah, vampires."
He knows how important a sales pitch is, though. He's like, what, 95?
Oh, yeah,
He's
he's-
like, I ain't got nothing to lose.
He's practiced the elevator pitch
Yes.
for this, the whole ferry ride over.
You
Yeah.
may have left Stoneheart, but you haven't left.
My heart.
Oh, you haven't left Palmer.
Yes, you haven't left Eldritch Palmer.
It's true. So Fitzwilliam, I guess, will become a full part of the gang, which is exciting.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool character.
I like him too, and I like
helps-
Roger Cross.
It helps though because they need an inside, aside from like Satrakian's old knowledge of Palmer from like back in the day
Mm-hmm.
in like Austria. They need some contemporary knowledge of their bad guy, of
their
their
adversary.
human adversary.
Yeah.
And there they have it.
Yeah, and I think Fitzwilliam also provides sort of a level voice that we don't have on the team right now. Everyone's sort of insane in one way or
Yeah,
another.
and he is a
Yes.
moderate. He's very steadfast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's like controlled. He's like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm not gonna kill people just because like people are telling me to kill people. I want to question all of these things because this is nuts.
Yeah. No, we do need an audience surrogate. F was the audience surrogate, but he is not anymore.
He's
He
the
has
audience
gone off
surrogate
the rails.
if you're playing a
He's too
drinking
boozed
game.
up.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. I just want him to drink more. He's like Popeye.
That is
and
not
alcohol's
his
his
superpower.
spinach. It's
It is
great.
not his superpower.
It is.
No, we can't.
Yes, we can. Yes,
Listeners,
we can.
alcoholism, not a superpower.
All right, let's talk about what is easily the most successful storyline this week, which is the F. Nora Fett storyline. Kicking into high gear with Fortunate Son. I'm like, this show. I love
Yes.
this show. This show is freaking weird and confident in its weirdness. We are holding a vampire hostage in the back of a moving bread truck to Creedence Clearwater with Fett cracking jokes in the front. And I'm like, this is great. And they
You know what my favorite part? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so
go,
sorry
go, go.
to interrupt, but my favorite part of that whole sequence to show how weird but cool this show is when they let their vampire test subject go. And he doesn't really seem to be going anywhere, and he's kind of like ambling, and they're like, no, really, he's got to go somewhere. And we still have like the power pump rock music going on, and you're like, oh, wah, wah.
Yeah.
What's he gonna do? He's just looking around. Like,
But it was an awesome moment to
Yeah.
how like weird but fun the show can be.
It's true. And our heroes forgot that the first thing a Strigoi does when they turn is they go and find the person they love most to turn them. Which is exactly what Mr. McGeever did. He went to the hospital where his son was getting treated for schizophrenia, and he falls asleep on top of a pile of slumbering Strigoi. And they're like, well, let's just wait till tomorrow. I love how, again with the machetes, how our heroes have transformed themselves in the wake of the vampire apocalypse. And they're just like, they're all armed. They know what to do now. They know how to fight. They've got like a formation. They've got teamwork. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Check all them boxes. Great. And then they go back to the stronghold, and they've just got to wait for a day. Nora's gonna have a saucy shower by herself, and F is too wired to sleep. So it's the daytime. What should you do? Spend time with your son, which is something that never occurs to him, but occurs to everyone else.
I think one of us just shouted, like, go spend it with your kid.
Yeah.
And then Nora was like, you should spend it with your kid. And we were like, thank you. And Zack has forsaken his iPhone for a PS Vita. And F is able to lure him out with the promise of batting cages. And they go, and we get our first pre-vampire F and Zack flashback, which I don't know if that's going to continue to be a thing or not.
I actually really liked that flashback.
Me too.
Because Zack smiled in it.
Yes.
And I was like, here we have a glimpse of what this actor could do as far as be like a happy Zack. So we have some sort of comparison to
this was
smoky
easily
Zack.
the most subtle of new Zack that we've ever seen.
Yes.
And it was great.
Yeah.
He was not obtrusive at all.
Yeah, this felt like he actually cared and was just like he needed to not be there. Like, and we've all had that feeling, like when you go to a place that has certain memories, even if they're good memories, if they remind you of what you are missing or what you don't have, like any of that, you just want to escape from it. And also you're like looking at F, he's like, yeah, we're gonna play some baseball, Field of Dreams. And it's like, no, you're not gonna have that Field of Dreams moment.
No, you're not. So F and Nora go out that night to try to track down our vamp buddy, and it turns out he infected everybody in that clump. But rather than let them wander free and infect more vampires, the master is forcing them to leap from the top of a building and kill themselves, which sets F laughing maniacally like a crazy person, and it was awesome. Yeah. I just...
That also happened on Under the Dome this season. I'm just letting you know.
Oh my God.
That's what you've been missing, Matt Lieberman.
I don't want to know anything else.
People
Even the
jumping off a
mention
dome?
of the words Under the Dome make me angry. Physically angry.
But you can't jump off a dome, you'll just slide.
No. They're still under it. They're still under
they're
it,
still
right?
under it.
They're
They're
still
just jumping
under it?
off of buildings under the dome.
Ay, vase. Anyway. This is not that after show. So Fett, meanwhile, is going to...
You can argue, though, that the master already knew about this plan because he can see through everything, because they did not cover up the encasement like I told them to in the last episode.
Yeah, there's no chance that the master was gonna like let it be. He was just like, yeah, you got these ones, but F you, F. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna throw them all out.
Well, that's the thing, is the next Strigoi that they infect, they have to blindfold it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
They have to blindfold it so that the master is never aware that vessel is the one to keep an eye on when it's released.
And let's not forget the moment where F starts just like rolling his silver sword down the giant pus boil.
Oh,
and as
yucky.
Kev T puts it, popped it like a big pimple.
Yes. He popped it like a big pimple. And he loved it. Can we admit that F is a full-blown crazy person?
Yes. That's why we need Fitzwilliam. Everybody on that team except for Nora is nuts.
Well, she's kind of nuts, too, because she lost her mom in an epically bad way.
That is true.
Yeah, she's not in a great place either. She wasn't even in a great place when we met her at the top of this series. She was the woman on the side to like this recently divorced guy who's like really boring because he's not drinking. Anyway, so what was it that woman last season referred to her as a spicy side dish? Anyway, so Fett is down in Fort Defiance, ready to blow stuff up. And he even flat out says meep meep like the Road Runner.
I love that.
Great.
Well, the Cody eats your heart at that.
Yeah, love it. He lights his cigar, lights the fuse, he's walking away, and then Councilwoman Feraldo, her goons are wandering around, and they get in the way of our vampire hunters, and I'm like, oh no. Humans are going to ruin this because they're going to be like, you're a criminal, you blew stuff up, or you're killing people. It's like, we're freaking vampire hunters. Where have you been, a-holes? That's all I gotta say.
I mean, it sucks because you're watching him like, why are you like he slipped around that pole and like, all right, make a break for it. Like, this is perfect, Fett. Like they're like, in that direction. Like, just run, and he just goads them, knowing that there's 5 of them, one of him.
Yeah.
He was trying to draw them away from the dynamite, though, because they were headed towards the dynamite, and he wanted them to get away from it before it blew up. So,
and also not stop them from blowing it up.
Yeah.
Or also stop them from blowing
That's
it up.
fair, but goading them like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a Wile E. Coyote style move.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the idea of Fett being locked up for more than a hot second.
Well, I wonder if he has a lot of knowledge. I wonder if he gets brought to
Councilwoman
Feraldo. She recognizes what she has in Fett because his badge pops out of his shirt during that fight, so they'll know at least what he does.
I didn't even see that. That's
because he reaches for his badge, and that's when they tackle him.
Right.
Because when you're surrounded by cops, maybe reaching into your jacket.
Were those even cops? They just looked like dudes in black fleeces.
They looked like they were deputized citizens.
Right.
They had these black armbands with
a Nazi. No,
it was I mean, if you want to draw a comparison, I guess, but it had some kind. It had I forget. I couldn't remember exactly what the symbol was. It had a symbol that made that,
and it wasn't a swastika.
No, maybe it's the biohazard symbol.
It was something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Right.
But I think these people were deputized citizens, military.
Fair enough.
Whatever.
Eldridge Palmer has had the heads of every major bank killed.
In the best scene ever, where the news person is talking and they just start falling down and fighting.
That was a great shot.
Protesters have shown up on the scene. They're not protesters.
Yeah, dummies. And then he's like, drive away slowly. And then he locks eyes with Bolivar, and Bolivar's like, and he's like, drive away slowly. Why slowly?
Yeah,
get out of there.
If you drive slow, I feel like people are like,
why is he driving so slow?
I'd be on my foot on the to the pedal to the metal.
Exactly. That's what any normal person would do. I don't know.
Look, nobody's saying that Palmer is a really good, subtle undercover person. He's just real rich.
That's true. And Kelly and her feelers go to the batting cages, and the feelers are still gross. And she's like, Zack
They look like Chucky dolls in the face.
They're so creepy. They scare me. I don't like them.
But I do like the way they move. The kids who play those parts have to be really good at moving
really good at jumping.
And so does whoever's doing, if it is actually the actress that portrays Kelly.
I believe
doing
it is. Yeah.
But when she jumps up on that desk, that's some creepy levels of flexibility. Which because she gets up and you can her legs.
I thought that was
out
the kid.
Was it a kid?
That was one of the kids.
You're right. In the moment, I thought it was her, but you're right. It was a kid.
Yeah.
But she did say last season that she was trained to use certain movements once she knew she was quote unquote turning into a vampire. So she had to learn certain bizarre movement patterns because she had started to do them.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time for predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Zack Wilson.
I think Fett is going to become the leader of the safety councils. He's going to become Ferraro's head. Feraldo's head clean up Brooklyn guy.
Head goon. Yeah.
And then all those other goons are gonna be having to answer to him. They're gonna be like, "What?" He's smack him with his rebarb.
Yeah. Are we going to make it to DC next episode with F and Nora?
That was a plot line that bugged me.
Maybe they'll get in touch with DC somehow. I don't know how they're gonna get out of the city.
Why'd it bug you?
It bugs me because Nora was like, "This is all moving so fast. It's moving so fast. We can't do this." You were in the middle of a vampire apocalypse. Everything is moving fast.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm pointing at the table.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think there's no way they get out of New York next episode. They're going to try. There's no way. Because something will go wrong, and that's great.
I mean, wouldn't it be enough to just get to a phone?
No, Red Hook is going to be on lockdown. They're not going to be allowed in, no one's going to be allowed in or out of Red Hook until they've exterminated all the vampires.
And they blew up the train.
So it's going to be very, very hard to get out. I think that I hope that Kelly finds Zack next episode, Let's get
we
this
know. I mean, I think
going.
they have to. Like, they're right behind them at this point. Like, it's only one trail left.
They're hours behind, so I'm hoping that that's something.
Yeah.
And
I gotta say before we wrap up of this episode, Miguel Gomez this week
He's great.
was so on point because we sort of blew past him, but like that moment with his mom where
was
he's just
fantastic.
He's just crying, and it's just like that hurt, and you're looking at him, and even though he's crying, he's staying strong, and it worked so well for the character. Very good acting.
Very, very good. It was easily his best performance. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week, next Monday, with an all-new installment. Jacque Borowski, where can the people find you?
My website, 123jackieb.com, and that's where my Twitter, Instagram, etc.
Super.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, and I'm also here at AfterBuzz on Killjoys on Sundays, and Dominion, which coming up next, we're going to be talking to two of the writers, Alyssa Clark and Sean Crouch. So if you're watching that show, tune in.
Super. And you can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman, youtube.com/Matt Lieberman, and of course, SourceFed and SourceFed Nerd. Thank you all so much. See you next week. Good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bite you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.